Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they never decide who they are going to become. They drift. They react. They wait for motivation instead of building discipline. They wait for confidence instead of earning it. They wait for the right moment while life quietly passes them by. And then one day, they wake up older, with the same habits, the same excuses, the same unrealized potential. This audiobook is not here to motivate you for a moment. It is here to wake you up permanently. Welcome to The Art of Letting Go. This is not about chasing perfection. It's about eliminating self-betrayal. It's about closing the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. Because success is not luck. Success is alignment. Success is becoming the kind of person who cannot help but win. And that transformation begins with one brutal truth. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. Let that sink in. You can visualize success all day long. You can write goals in notebooks. You can watch motivational videos on repeat. But at the end of the day, your life is a reflection of what you do consistently, not what you desire occasionally. If motivation asks, "How do I feel today?" Discipline asks, "What must be done?" regardless of how I feel. And the difference between average lives and extraordinary ones is the answer to that question. Chapter 1. The Silent War Inside You. Every single day, a war is being fought inside your mind, not between good and evil, not between right and wrong, but between comfort and growth. Comfort wants what's familiar. Comfort wants to repeat yesterday. Comfort whispers, "You can start tomorrow." Growth demands discomfort. Growth demands consistency. Growth asks you to show up when no one is watching. And here's the hard part. Comfort always speaks louder at first. It speaks in excuses that sound reasonable. It speaks in fear disguised as logic. It speaks in stories about why now isn't the right time. But growth speaks quietly. Growth speaks through action. Growth doesn't beg. It waits to see if you're serious. Most people lose this war not because they're weak, but because they don't even realize it's happening. They think life is happening to them. They don't realize life is responding to who they are being. And who you are being is shaped by the standards you tolerate. If you tolerate inconsistency, you become inconsistent. If you tolerate excuses, you become unreliable, even to yourself. If you tolerate mediocrity, it becomes your identity. Your best self doesn't appear by accident. It is forged through daily decisions that most people avoid. Chapter 2. The Identity Trap. Here's something no one tells you. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will unconsciously sabotage success. If you see yourself as not disciplined, you will find reasons to quit. If you see yourself as not confident, you will hesitate when opportunities appear. This is the identity trap. Your past becomes a prison. Your old mistakes become your self-image. And without realizing it, you start defending the very version of yourself that's holding you back. But listen carefully. Your identity is not fixed. It is trained. Every habit you repeat is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every time you do what's hard instead of what's easy, you cast a vote for your future self. And the most powerful shift you can make is this. Stop asking, "What should I do?" Start asking, "Who must I become?" Because once your identity changes, behavior follows naturally. Discipline becomes normal. Focus becomes natural. Confidence becomes earned. Your best self isn't created by massive breakthroughs. It's built by small promises kept daily. Chapter 3. The Cost of Staying. The same change is hard, but staying the same has a cost, and it's higher than you think. The cost is regret. The cost is resentment. The cost is looking back and realizing you knew better, but didn't act. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you reinforce the belief that you can't be trusted by yourself. And self-trust is everything. When you don't trust yourself to follow through, you hesitate, you overthink, you doubt. But when you keep promises to yourself, even small ones, you build an unshakable foundation. Confidence is not loud. Confidence is quiet certainty built over time. Your best self is not louder than others. Your best self is stronger than your excuses. If this message is hitting something deep inside you, pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, where have I been settling? Where have I been delaying? Where have I been choosing comfort over who I could become? Because in the next part, we're going to talk about discipline as self-respect and why the people who win in life aren't more motivated. They're more committed. And once you understand that difference, there is no going back. Chapter 2. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in action. Read that again. Most people think discipline means forcing yourself to suffer, waking up early when you're tired, saying no when you want comfort, doing the work when no one is watching. But real discipline isn't about pain. It's about identity. It's about saying, I am the kind of person who does what they said they would do. And that single belief changes everything. Chapter 4. Discipline is self-respect. Every time you break a promise to yourself, something small but dangerous happens. You teach your mind that your word doesn't matter. You weaken your own authority. You train yourself to negotiate with excuses. And over time, that inner voice gets louder. It's okay to skip. It won't matter. You can try again later. But here's the truth most people avoid. If you don't respect your own commitments, the world won't either. Discipline is the habit of honoring your future self. It's choosing long-term pride over short-term relief. Not because you feel like it, but because you decided who you are. Your best self doesn't rely on motivation. Your best self relies on standards, and standards don't change with mood. Chapter 5. The myth of motivation. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. It spikes after inspiration and fades at the first inconvenience. If success depended on motivation, only people who felt good would ever win. But look closely at high performers. They train when they don't feel like it. They show up when it's uncomfortable. They execute when motivation is absent. Why? Because they don't ask, do I feel like doing this? They ask, is this aligned with who I'm becoming? That question removes emotion from the equation, and that's power. Your best self is not built on excitement. It's built on consistency under pressure. Chapter 6. Habits shape identity. Here's a hard truth. You are not struggling because you lack potential. You're struggling because your habits are misaligned with your goals. Habits are invisible until they compound. They don't scream, they whisper. One skipped workout, one delayed decision, one night of distraction, harmless until repeated. But the same is true in the opposite direction. One disciplined choice today creates momentum tomorrow, and momentum changes how you see yourself. You stop saying, I'm trying. You start saying, this is just what I do. That shift is everything. Your best self emerges when discipline becomes normal, not heroic. Chapter 7. The power of keeping small promises. You don't build confidence by thinking positively. You build it by keeping promises, especially small ones. Start where it's uncomfortable but doable. Show up when it's easy to disappear. Finish what you start, even when it's imperfect. Follow through when no one is watching. Every small win strengthens self-trust, and self-trust becomes confidence. Confidence becomes clarity. Clarity becomes momentum. Your best self is not born in dramatic moments. It's built quietly, daily, consistently. Chapter 8. Stop negotiating with yourself. One of the most dangerous habits is internal negotiation. Maybe tomorrow. Just this once. I deserve a break. Negotiation turns discipline into debate. And debate kills action. High performers eliminate negotiation. They decide once, then execute. No drama, no overthinking, no emotional bargaining. When the decision is made in advance, action becomes automatic. And that's how discipline stops feeling hard. If this chapter is resonating, pause and reflect. Where are you negotiating instead of deciding? Where are you waiting to feel ready instead of acting? Because in the next part, we're going to talk about mental clarity, focus, and eliminating the noise. The internal chaos that keeps people busy, but not effective. And once you learn how to quiet your mind, your progress accelerates faster than you ever thought possible. Chapter 3. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is clarity. And clarity is the weapon most people never learn to use. You don't lack ability. You don't lack intelligence. You don't even lack effort. What you lack is mental order. Your mind is crowded. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many distractions pulling you in opposite directions. And when the mind is noisy, progress slows. Chapter 9. Mental clarity is a competitive advantage. Most people wake up already overwhelmed. Notifications, deadlines, expectations, unfinished thoughts from yesterday. They move all day, but go nowhere. Busy, but not effective. Your best self doesn't move faster. Your best self moves clearer. Clarity means knowing what matters and ignoring what doesn't. It means choosing depth over chaos, direction over distraction. When the mind is clear, decisions become easier. When decisions are easier, action becomes faster. When action becomes faster, confidence grows. Clarity creates momentum. Chapter 10. Focus is a skill, not a trait. Focus is not something you're born with. It's something you train. Every time you resist distraction, you strengthen it. Every time you finish what you start, you sharpen it. Every time you stay present, you deepen it. But here's the truth. Focus dies when everything feels urgent. Your best self understands this. Not everything deserves your attention. Some things deserve your excellence. Most things deserve your absence. If you want a different life, you must guard your focus like your future depends on it, because it does. Chapter 11. Eliminate the noise. Noise isn't just external, it's internal. Self-doubt, comparison, overthinking. Those voices don't protect you, they paralyze you. Your best self doesn't silence the mind by force. It silences the mind through action. Clarity comes after movement. Confidence comes after commitment. Peace comes after decision. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start acting aligned. The noise fades when purpose is louder. Chapter 12. Energy is everything. Your best self is not drained. Your best self is directed. Energy leaks when your life lacks alignment. When your actions don't match your values. When you say yes to things that don't matter. Every no to distraction is a yes to power. Protect your sleep. Protect your body. Protect your attention. You cannot build your best self while constantly exhausted. Energy fuels discipline. Discipline fuels progress. Progress fuels belief. Chapter 13. Stop living reactively. Action is easy. Creation is intentional. Most people react to life. Messages decide their mood. Circumstances decide their effort. Other people decide their focus. Your best self takes control. You choose how you start your day. You choose what gets your energy. You choose how you respond. And that choice, repeated daily, builds leadership within. You don't need control over the world. You need control over yourself. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, where is my energy leaking? What distractions am I protecting? What clarity am I avoiding? Because in the next part, we're going deeper into identity, self-image, and the internal story that decides how high you're willing to rise. And once you change that story, everything else begins to follow. Chapter 4. There's a voice in your head that speaks every day. It narrates your life. It explains your failures. It predicts your future. And whether you realize it or not, that voice is shaping who you become. Chapter 14. Your identity dictates your results. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will quit when it gets hard. If you see yourself as average, you will sabotage extraordinary opportunities. But if you see yourself as someone who finishes, someone who adapts, someone who grows, your actions will align automatically. Your best self is not built by motivation. Your best self is built by self-image. Chapter 15. The story you tell yourself. Every day, you're telling yourself a story. I'm behind. I'm not ready. I always mess this up. I'll start when things calm down. These stories feel true, but they are not facts. They are habits, and habits can be rewritten. Your best self speaks differently, not with arrogance, but with ownership. I'm learning. I'm improving. I can handle this. I don't quit on myself. Change the story, and behavior follows. Chapter 16. Confidence is built, not found. Confidence does not appear before action. It appears after evidence. Evidence that you kept a promise. Evidence that you showed up when it was uncomfortable. Evidence that you didn't abandon yourself. Your best self doesn't wait to feel confident. Your best self creates proof. Small wins. Daily discipline. Quiet consistency. That's how belief is formed. Chapter 17. Stop negotiating with weakness. Every day, weakness will try to negotiate. Just this once. You deserve a break. Tomorrow will be better. Weakness sounds reasonable. That's why it's dangerous. Your best self doesn't argue. It decides. Decision ends debate. Structure removes temptation. You don't need more willpower. You need fewer decisions. Build routines that protect you from your worst moments. Chapter 18. Emotional control is power. Most people are controlled by emotion. If they feel good, they act. If they feel bad, they withdraw. Your best self operates above mood. You don't obey every feeling. You observe it and move anyway. Discomfort is not danger. Fear is not a command. When you master your emotions, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. That's real strength. Chapter 19. Become someone you respect. Ask yourself one question. Would I respect the person I'm becoming? Not admire, not envy. Respect. Respect comes from integrity, from alignment between words and actions, from doing what you said you would, even when no one is watching. Your best self is built in private, and that private discipline creates public confidence. Take a breath, because in the next part, we confront the hardest truth of all. You cannot become your best self while holding on to your old life. Some things must be released. Some habits must die. Some versions of you must be left behind. And that is where real transformation begins. Chapter 5. There is a moment in every transformation where progress demands a price. Not money, not talent, not luck, attachment. You cannot step into your next level while dragging your old self behind you. Chapter 20. Why growth feels like loss. Becoming your best self will feel uncomfortable, not because it's wrong, but because it requires separation. Separation from old habits, old excuses, old coping mechanisms, old identities that once protected you, but now limit you. You will feel guilt for changing. You will feel strange for saying no. You will feel lonely for choosing discipline over familiarity. That's normal. Growth feels like loss before it feels like freedom. Chapter 21. Outgrowing people without becoming cold. Not everyone can come with you, and that doesn't make you selfish. It makes you honest. Some relationships are built on who you were, not who you're becoming. Your best self doesn't need to argue, explain, or prove anything. It simply chooses alignment. You can love people without letting them shape your future. You can respect history without repeating it. Growth requires boundaries, and boundaries require courage. Chapter 22. The discipline of saying no. Every yes is a trade. Time, energy, focus. Your best self understands this deeply. It says no to distractions, no to emotional chaos, no to urgency that isn't important, no to comfort that costs momentum, not because it's rigid, but because it's clear. Clarity is discipline in action. When you know who you're becoming, decisions become simple. Chapter 23. The silence that builds power. There is a phase of growth where nothing seems to be happening. No applause, no recognition, no visible progress. This is not failure. This is construction. Your best self is built in silence, in repetition, in boredom, in showing up when motivation is gone. This is where most people quit, because they mistake quiet for stagnation. But silence is not absence, it's preparation. Chapter 24. Stop chasing. Start becoming your best self doesn't chase outcomes. It doesn't chase approval. It doesn't chase validation. It doesn't chase shortcuts. It focuses on process. Who do I need to be today? What habit strengthens me now? What choice aligns with my future self? When you become consistent, results chase you. Chapter 25. Pain as a teacher, not a punishment. Every setback carries information. Every failure exposes a weakness, not to shame you, but to train you. Your best self does not avoid pain. It studies it. What did this teach me? Where did I compromise? What must improve? Pain is not the enemy. Avoidance is. When you learn from pain, it stops repeating itself. Chapter 26. You are closer than you think. Most people quit right before the breakthrough. Not because it's impossible, but because it's unfamiliar. Your best self feels unfamiliar at first. It feels disciplined. It feels calm. It feels focused. It feels quiet. And that quiet confidence is what separates those who transform from those who stay the same. Pause here, because in the next part, we address the final shift. How to lock this identity in, so you don't relapse into old patterns when life gets hard. This is where temporary motivation becomes permanent change. Chapter 6. This is where most people fail. Not at the beginning, not during the struggle, but after progress. They improve, then relax. They change, then drift. They become better, then assume they're done. But growth is not a destination. It's an identity you must protect. Chapter 27. Why people relapse into old selves. Your old self is familiar. It knows your shortcuts, your excuses, your emotional triggers, your comfort zones. When life gets stressful, your brain will try to return there. Not because it's better, but because it's known. Your best self must be reinforced daily, or it will slowly fade. This isn't weakness, it's biology, and discipline is the override. Chapter 28. The Rule of Non-Negotiables. Your best self is built on non-negotiables. Habits you do regardless of mood, regardless of chaos, regardless of circumstances. Sleep, movement, focus time, reflection, self-respect. These are not optional. They are anchors. When everything feels unstable, non-negotiables keep your identity intact. Chapter 29. Motivation is temporary. Systems are permanent. Motivation is emotional. Systems are structural. Your best self does not depend on feelings. It depends on design. Design your environment. Design your schedule. Design your habits. Make the right choice easier. Make the wrong choice harder. This is how discipline becomes effortless. Chapter 30. The power of boredom. Your best self is not exciting. It's consistent, predictable, repetitive. And that's why it works. Success is built in boredom, in doing the same right things when nothing dramatic is happening. If you need constant excitement, you'll abandon consistency. Learn to respect the quiet grind. That's where mastery lives. Chapter 31. Emotional control. Is identity control. Your emotions will test you. Anger will try to provoke you. Fear will try to freeze you. Ego will try to distract you. Your best self does not suppress emotion, it manages it. Pause before reacting. Breathe before responding. Think before deciding. Calm is not weakness. Calm is command. Chapter 32. Becoming unrecognizable. In the best way. There will come a day when people say, "You've changed." They will mean it negatively, but it is the highest compliment. It means you no longer react the same. You no longer tolerate the same. You no longer think the same. You didn't become cold. You became clear. Chapter 33. The responsibility of your potential. You owe your best self to someone. Not the world, not social media, not approval. You owe it to your future. To the version of you who deserves peace, strength, and confidence. Every disciplined choice today protects that future. Chapter 34. This is not a phase. This is not a challenge. Not a 30-day reset. Not a motivational high. This is who you are becoming. Slowly, daily, deliberately. And once this identity locks in, there is no going back. In the final part, we close the loop. How to live as your best self without burning out, without obsession, and without losing joy. This is where discipline meets fulfillment. Chapter 7. Final part. This is the chapter no one prepares you for. Not the grind, not the discipline, not the sacrifice, but living as the person you worked so hard to become. Because becoming your best self is one thing, staying there is another. Chapter 35. When discipline becomes identity. At first, discipline feels heavy. You force it, you fight resistance, you negotiate with yourself. But then something shifts. You stop asking, "Should I do this?" and start saying, "This is who I am." Your best self doesn't rely on willpower. It operates on identity alignment. You don't wake up debating whether to act right. You act right because it feels wrong not to. That's mastery. Chapter 36. Balance is not weakness. Your best self is not extreme. It doesn't punish. It doesn't obsess. It doesn't chase perfection. It chooses sustainability. Rest without guilt. Work without chaos. Discipline without hatred. Balance is not softness. It's intelligence. Burnout is not proof of effort. It's proof of poor systems. Chapter 37. You will outgrow people. Let it happen. Growth creates distance. Not because you're better, but because you're different. Some people won't understand your boundaries. Some won't respect your priorities. Some will try to pull you back. You don't need to explain. You don't need permission. Outgrowing people is not betrayal. It's evolution. Chapter 38. Confidence without noise. Your best self doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly, decides calmly, acts decisively. You don't need validation when you trust your discipline. Confidence doesn't need volume. It needs consistency. Chapter 39. The calm power of self-respect. Self-respect changes everything. What you tolerate, what you pursue, what you walk away from. Your best self does not beg, does not chase, does not compromise values for comfort. It chooses peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, purpose over approval. Chapter 40. The long game mentality. Your best self thinks long term. It asks, will this matter in 5 years? Does this align with who I'm becoming? Is this impulse or intention? Short-term pleasure fades. Long-term discipline compounds, and compounding wins. Chapter 41. Quiet mornings, strong days, peaceful nights. Your best life doesn't look dramatic. It looks stable. Clear mornings, focused work, intentional rest. No constant crisis, no emotional chaos, no self-sabotage cycles, just momentum. And momentum is powerful. Chapter 42. You are no longer searching. You're no longer asking, who should I become? You already know. You're just living it now. One decision at a time, one habit at a time, one disciplined choice at a time. Final chapter. This is your reminder. You don't need to restart. You don't need a breakthrough. You don't need permission. You already started. Every time you chose discipline over comfort, you proved it. Every time you acted instead of waited, you proved it. Every time you didn't quit, you proved it. This is who you are now. Protect it, respect it, live it. And if this audiobook resonated with you, share the one line that hit you the hardest. Tell us, what version of yourself are you choosing next? Because this journey doesn't end here. It just becomes quieter, stronger, and more intentional. You are your best self. Now live like it. We'll continue seamlessly, not by repeating, but by deepening. This is the after the ending. The chapter most audiobooks never say out loud. Epilogue. Becoming is a daily choice. Here's the truth most people miss. Becoming your best self is not a finish line. It's a daily agreement you make with yourself. Some days you'll feel strong, some days you won't. But discipline was never about feelings. It was always about decisions. You don't need to feel motivated to live aligned. You need to remember who you decided to become. When old habits knock again, they will come back. Old comforts, old excuses, old versions of you asking for one more chance. Not because you failed, but because growth tests commitment. Your best self doesn't panic when this happens. It pauses, it breathes, it chooses again. Growth isn't proven by never slipping. It's proven by how fast you return. The quiet confidence of consistency. You'll notice something strange over time. You stop needing speeches. You stop needing hype. You stop needing external fuel. Consistency becomes your confidence. You trust yourself now. And self-trust is rare power. Your new standard. This is the real upgrade. You don't tolerate chaos anymore. You don't negotiate with self-respect. You don't chase validation. You don't abandon yourself for comfort. Your standards rise quietly. Your life follows naturally. You are no longer waiting. You don't wait for perfect timing. You don't wait for confidence. You don't wait for approval. You act because alignment demands action. And action builds identity. One last reminder. If you ever forget who you are becoming, remember this. Your best self was never a fantasy. It was always a decision. And you already made it. Every disciplined choice, every boundary you kept, every time you showed up when it was uncomfortable. That's proof. If this audiobook stayed with you, if even one sentence followed you into your day, share it with someone who's still searching. And tell us, what habit, mindset, or identity are you committing to protect next? Because the journey doesn't end here. It simply becomes yours. Final chapter. The promise you keep. Before you go back into your life. Before the noise returns. Before the world starts asking things of you again. Pause here. This chapter is not about learning more. It's about remembering. Because the most powerful promise you will ever make is not to someone else. It's the one you make in silence, when no one is watching, when there is no applause, when quitting would be easy and continuing feels heavy. That promise sounds like this. I will not abandon myself. There will be days when you doubt your progress. Days when growth feels invisible. Days when you wonder if any of this is working. That does not mean you are failing. That means you are becoming. Growth is quiet while it's happening. Just like strength in the gym. Just like savings in the bank. just like trust in yourself. You don't feel it grow. You notice it one day when you don't break anymore. From this point forward, life will test you differently. Not by asking, can you start? But by asking, can you stay consistent? Can you keep choosing integrity when shortcuts appear? Can you keep choosing discipline when motivation disappears? Can you keep choosing self-respect when comfort calls? This is where most people stop. Not because they can't do more, but because they forget why they started. You won't. You are no longer chasing a better life. You are building alignment. You move slower when needed. You rest without guilt. You act without drama. You respond instead of react. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Your habits speak. Your boundaries speak. Your calm speaks. And here is the truth that completes everything you've heard. Your best self is not ahead of you. Your best self is revealed every time you choose courage over comfort, truth over illusion, discipline over delay. You don't become your best self someday. You practice being them today. So when this audiobook ends, don't rush. Carry one sentence with you, one standard, one promise. And when the world tries to pull you back into who you used to be, smile, because you know something now. You are no longer searching. You are becoming, and you're just getting started.